The sheer disrespect. The absolute, unapologetic disrespect. Drew McIntyre didn't just walk into SmackDown on February 20th, 2026. He stormed in like a man possessed, like a warrior who had been sharpening his blade in silence, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And when he opened his mouth, he didn't just taunt Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. He detonated a verbal bomb that left the entire arena in shock. Let me ask you something right now. If someone embarrassed you on national television the way Drew did, would you let that slide? Or would you swing first and ask questions later? Drop your answer in the comments. Because what we witnessed wasn't just trash talk. It was psychological warfare. The camera panned across the crowd, and you could feel the tension before a single word was spoken. Drew stood there, cold eyes scanning the arena, a smirk creeping across his face. The kind of smirk that says, "I know something you don't." And then he said it. He called Cody Rhodes a paper champion living off legacy fumes. He accused Jacob Fatu of hiding behind chaos instead of proving himself one-on-one. He didn't whisper it. He didn't hint at it. He said it with venom. And the scary part? He looked like he meant every single word. Cody Rhodes has built his entire comeback story on resilience, on finishing the story, on redemption. But Drew ripped into that narrative like it was nothing more than a bedtime fairy tale. He mocked the tears. He mocked the speeches. He mocked the so-called destiny. Drew claimed that while Cody was busy chasing emotional validation, Drew was out there dismantling giants and surviving wars. Is Drew right, though? Has Cody leaned too much into the story instead of focusing on dominance? I'm curious. Do you think Cody's emotional promos make him stronger or weaker as a champion? And then came Jacob Fatu. Drew didn't just taunt him, he provoked him. He brought up Fatu's destructive path, his uncontrollable rage, and flipped the narrative. Drew said that chaos is easy. Anyone can destroy. But can you outthink? Can you outlast? Can you outfight a man who has already conquered fear? That line hit different. Because if there's one thing Drew McIntyre has proven over the years, it's that he thrives in hostile territory. He thrives when the odds are stacked. And on SmackDown, he made it crystal clear, he doesn't see Cody Rhodes as a hero. He sees him as a stepping stone. He doesn't see Jacob Fatu as a monster. He sees him as prey. The crowd was divided. Half were booing. Half were stunned into silence. And the rest? They were leaning forward, waiting for someone to swing. But here's where it gets even more intense. Drew didn't just talk about the present. He brought up the future. He hinted at championship gold. He hinted at WrestleMania season. He practically dared management to put him in the ring with both Cody and Fatu. Not separately. Not months apart. But soon. And the way he said it? It wasn't a challenge. It was a warning. Now think about this. If Drew faces Cody one-on-one, who actually has the edge? Power versus resilience. Brutality versus heart. Who wins that clash? The tension reached a boiling point when Cody's music hit. The reaction was explosive. Cody didn't run to the ring, he walked. Calm. Focused. But you could see it in his eyes. That wasn't the look of a man who was amused. That was the look of someone who'd just been disrespected in front of millions. They stood face to face. No punches thrown yet. Just words. Cody fired back, accusing Drew of being bitter. Of being obsessed with what he hasn't been handed. He reminded Drew that while Drew complains about opportunities, Cody creates them. But Drew? Drew laughed. That laugh echoed through the arena like gasoline hitting a flame. And then, before things could settle, Jacob Fatu's presence was felt. You didn't even need the music. The energy shifted. The crowd noise changed pitch. Fatu stepped out, eyes locked on both men. Not smiling. Not talking. Just staring. Now we had 3 predators in one ring. And here's a quick question. If you were standing in that ring with Drew and Cody staring at you, would you attack immediately or wait for the perfect opening? Because that's exactly what Fatu seemed to be calculating. Drew stepped forward first, taunting him again. Calling him unpredictable. Calling him reckless. But Drew also said something interesting. He said Fatu hides behind intimidation because he knows he can't win a chess match. That's bold. Because if there's one thing about Jacob Fatu, it's that he doesn't hesitate. He strikes. But he didn't. Not immediately. Instead, Cody inserted himself between them. And for a split second, it looked like we might see a temporary alliance. But that tension? It was too thick. These are not men who trust easily. These are not men who share spotlights. The verbal exchange escalated. The crowd got louder. And finally, the first shove happened. And that's when chaos erupted. Punches flying. Security scrambling. Commentary losing their minds. Drew throwing bombs. Cody firing back. Fatu bulldozing anything in his path. It wasn't clean. It wasn't technical. It was raw fury. And the image that closed the segment? Drew standing tall on the outside ramp, staring back at the ring where Cody and Fatu were still trying to regain their footing. That smirk returned. Mission accomplished. He got in their heads. Now, let's break this down strategically.
Drew knows something.
He knows that Cody carries pressure like armor, but even armor cracks. He knows Fatu thrives on emotion, but emotion can be manipulated. By taunting both men publicly, Drew has forced them into reacting instead of planning. That's veteran psychology. But here's the real question. Did Drew overplay his hand? Because taunting two dangerous competitors at once can backfire. Big time. Imagine this scenario. Cody and Fatu realize Drew is the common enemy. Imagine they decide to dismantle him first. Could Drew survive that kind of storm? Type yes or no in the comments.
I want to see where you stand.
Another layer to this is momentum. SmackDown on February 20th didn't just showcase a promo battle. It set the tone for the road ahead. This wasn't filler. This felt like the beginning of something explosive. Drew's intensity felt different. Less calculated hero. More vengeful warrior. And fans noticed. Cody, on the other hand, looked conflicted. Still confident, but rattled. Drew's words struck somewhere deep. And Fatu? He looked ready to detonate. Now think about this. Who benefits the most from this confrontation? Drew, for stirring the pot? Cody, for gaining sympathy? Or Fatu, for looking like the most dangerous man in the room? Personally, this felt like Drew planting seeds. Seeds of doubt. Seeds of anger. Seeds of division. And the most dangerous opponent isn't the strongest one. It's the one who controls the narrative. Drew controlled it that night. But wrestling isn't one with microphones. It's one in the ring. So, if this turns into a triple threat match, who walks out standing? Cody with resilience? Fatu with raw destruction? Or Drew with cold precision? And let's talk stamina. Drew has been through wars. Cody has endured heartbreak. Fatu has left bodies in his wake. In a high-stakes environment, conditioning matters. Strategy matters. Here's a small but fun question. Who is the best finishing move out of the three?
And be honest.
One more thing that can't be ignored. The crowd reaction. The energy was electric, because this didn't feel scripted. It felt personal. Drew's words carried weight, because they weren't generic insults. They were tailored attacks. He went after Cody's identity. He went after Fatu's mentality. That's calculated. And when you attack someone's identity, you force them to defend it. Which means emotion overrides logic. And when emotion overrides logic, mistakes happen. If you were Drew, would you continue poking both men every week? Or would you lay low and let them implode? SmackDown delivered a highlight that people will replay for weeks. Not because of a championship change. Not because of a stipulation announcement. But because of tension. Pure, combustible tension. And here's why this matters long-term. Rivalries built on pride and ego burn hotter than rivalries built on rankings. This isn't about number one contenders. This is about respect. Drew feels disrespected. Cody refuses to be disrespected. Fatu doesn't tolerate disrespect. See the problem? It's a powder keg. And February 20th was just someone striking the match. So now I turn it to you. If you had to book the next SmackDown, what would you do? Singles match? Tag match chaos? Contract signing meltdown? Because whatever happens next, one thing is guaranteed. Drew McIntyre has changed the temperature of the room. He didn't just taunt Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. He declared war. And judging by the looks on their faces, the war has only just begun.